Hello, my friends. This is Andy coming to you live from Southern California. It is a much better day. The sky isn't as red as it has been over the last couple of days, so I can breathe. But I did a Facebook Live yesterday. I do one in the morning often, and in the Facebook Live, it looks like it's snowing, but it's actually ash. But today seems to be a lot better, and we're thankful for that. It is 9/11, so I just want to encourage you all to keep in mind what this day is all about. And keep everybody in your prayers. And it was a great time to, honor the first responders. And, can we just do that today, in midst of everything that's going on? That would be fantastic. Let me talk to you a few about our sponsors, but my guest today, Sheree Trask, is an amazing person, and we're going to talk about how she helps people write their books in regard to being a ghostwriter and a whole bunch of other stuff that she does. So it's going to be a great show. So let's go ahead and first, and I just want to talk to you about a couple sponsors right now that I want you to consider. The platform I'm using is called StreamYard. And if you go to getstreamyard.live, that is my affiliate code. It would be great if you would use that to at least go and visit. If you have any ideas or things that you want to go live with and begin your own show, use getstreamyard.live, and that would be fantastic. And then I have a training program to use StreamYard, and you go to joinmelive.live, joinmelive.live. I use a great platform called Kajabi in my advanced training, which will be coming out over the weekend. I'll actually show you how you can repurpose your videos that you do on your live and put them into a Kajabi platform. You can even sell it for money for an online training program. So that's going to be all in there. The first two courses in there is basic to get you started, and then intermediate so that you can begin to add all kinds of bells and whistles to your show. And so you're going to want to make sure and get there. All right. So my guest, I can't wait to talk, because I often have helped people write their book. So about 1,000 people, we're pretty close, myself and my business partner, we've helped about 1,000 people become best-selling author. I'm a 9-time number one best-selling author. 5 of those best-selling books have become international number one bestsellers. And so we do enjoy, we have our private groups that we do. We have our mastermind. And so Sheree fits perfectly into who you are and who you are as far as my audience is concerned. She's a seasoned ghostwriter, author, mentor, empowerment speaker, content creator, and contributor to the One Habit. I almost put number one habit. It's called One Habit book series. She helps thought leaders and mission-driven brands give their vision a voice to build authority so they can scale and serve. She spent 18 plus years. She looks like she's 18, so I'm not sure how she did that, but she spent 18 years studying the mind-body connection and speaks internationally on the importance of using mindset to move through trauma. Yes, that's one of my favorite areas to help people understand that if they've been through trauma, they really need to write a book and get their message out to help other people and give pain a purpose. Sheree is on a mission to help transform the hearts and minds of humanity so that together we can raise the collective consciousness of our world and truly be free to live unapologetically and loud. I'm going to play a video now so that we can get started and I can get a drink of water. Bring Sheree on. Excuse me while I choke to death. All right, here we go. As after this video plays, we'll meet Sheree. Take care. Sheree, how are you?
I totally felt like I should have an air guitar. I'm like, yeah, rock it out.
When my kids are here, they hear the music and they all come over and they start dancing while the music's playing. They try to jump off before the camera turns on, but sometimes they stick around.
Big fan
now that I've recovered from choking, I'm drinking a protein drink, and sometimes it gets caught in my throat and I start coughing. So sorry about that, Sheree. I usually do much better on my introduction. I had to call somebody over here to give me.
18. I'm like, oh, let's keep that.
Yeah, write that in there. Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I go, wait a minute, come on. And so, Sheree, besides that introduction, can you do me a favor and just kind of tell a little bit more about yourself and who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I have been doing this work for a really long time, and it all kind of started for me in college when I went to school, graduated with a degree in TV and film, and I was sexually assaulted while I was in college, which changed the trajectory of my entire life in the best way possible. And it was with that I decided in that moment that there has to be a reason that this happened, and I am not a victim to my circumstances. What do I get to do to use this as fuel to really help other people, which got me on this whole journey of speaking publicly to women's groups and really empowering women to start using their own voices and tell their stories and share what they've been through. So through the process, I ended up going back to school to study holistic health, to heal the body from the inside out, looking at things like mindset. I was really blessed to be raised by an amazing single mom. And then I had the support of an amazing grandmother who always instilled in me the Buddhist philosophies, that always told me that nothing happens to you, everything is for you. So her whole phrase was find the four. So through this process of going through my own journey and helping other people through their journeys, I kind of fell into writing as a kid, and growing up, always writing was my place, my sanctuary. And I never thought that it was going to be my actual career. So about 10 years ago, I started writing for health and fitness magazines. And then years passed, I met somebody at the gym. He asked me to ghostwrite a book for him. I did. The rest is history. And I've been doing it ever since. So
wow, that's a great story. And I'm going to change my questioning and go back to what you talked about how, tragedy. And sorry to hear about your story, but what you did with it is fantastic. And the tragedy, I was a police officer for 21 years. I have cancer. I've been in a shooting. I've seen a whole bunch of bad things. And so I really love that about what it is you said, that when something happens to you, is the Bible says, look at it as joy, right? And pure joy. But then after you look at it as a joy, as hard as some of these things might be, is that, there's, you have a duty, I feel, and that's what I teach some of my potential authors. You have a duty to share your story with humanity in the world, because you'll never know whose life you will change. You think it was just from the encouragement of your mom and your grandmother? I mean, what else is there? What else can you tell people that maybe don't have that that kind of support system to help them understand how important it is to share that story that maybe they're kind of holding back?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that we do as humans, which cracks me up, is that for some reason we have this idea that things are about us.
Yeah.
So first of all, that's ego. That's actually not you. And nothing is about you. So if you can take yourself out of the equation and look at the story from the perspective of, okay, I went through this thing and I can label it good, bad, indifferent, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Like whatever that experience was, how can I use that to help somebody else in their own experience to move through it in a easier way, if you will. So really it's going to take you getting out of your own way and remembering that this is not just about you. Sure, it happened in your experience, but if you want to remain a victim, and I don't say that in with a negative connotation, if you want to remain in the victim mindset, I would encourage you to think about, how is that working for you? And is that actually moving you forward, or is it keeping you stuck in the place that you are that maybe is uncomfortable or somewhere that you don't want to be? And if you allowed yourself the space to say, you know what, I don't actually want to hold on to the story anymore. I actually want to be able to be free so that I can move forward in my own life. Think about what it might look like for you to be courageous and share the pieces of your story that you know could actually help another human being, and what that would do to our entire world if everyone decided to be that courageous.
Right. You were touching on something there, and there's almost like a therapeutic. I'm not sure if you said that, but there's almost a therapeutic aspect to it. Because I encourage people to journal all the time, getting it out of your brain and out of your heart and your soul, and getting on a piece of paper. And sometimes if you want to get rid of it, you just tear that paper out and you catch it on fire and you say, I'm done with it. I'm going to concentrate on moving forward. But I think even writing a book, my book, Falco Walking with God and the Dog, is how my work with my police dog, he saved my life, actually taught me a little bit about believing in Jesus Christ. So, but also some of the stories I shared in there was very therapeutic. It actually changed my life writing the book. It was almost like, I hope somebody gets something out of it, but I know that I did.
Yeah.
So have you found that with some of your people that it actually becomes a little bit therapeutic? It kind of brings people out of their shell a little bit.
So it's actually my favorite thing because I don't always tell people this up front. And I'm like, ooh, I can't wait for this moment. It's usually around chapter 2 or 3 where I get the call. Sheree, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I can't write this book. When did I write this book? And I'm like, you're right on time. Well, welcome. Because yeah, it's true. You're going to have this period where, especially if it's like a traumatic event, where you're bringing up the, oh, there's the thing, foul language.
That's for you.
Where you're bringing up a bunch of the stuff that you've either stuffed down or you thought that you'd healed or you didn't think you'd ever revisit again. And here it is. And you're like, wait a minute. Why is this memory from 20 years ago still bringing up all of this emotion in me? And that's such a beautiful invitation for you to dive in and be like, hell yeah, just a reminder that I'm human. I've still got work to do. Let's do this, right? So yeah, that's gonna come up and that's normal. So expect it. And if it doesn't come up, well, maybe you need to go a little deeper because, because in my experience, it always 100% of the time comes up where somebody's like, I want to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard, but you name it, it's there.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to get into something because we're broadcasting into the book publishers group. It's a private group of book publishers that has clients that who are, authors, people that want to be authors. And I just want to at least get to what it is that you do in regard to ghostwriting. And I've written all my books myself, and I have editors who have helped me out, and they are a godsend. And I'm so thankful because, as you already know, from our few exchanges, probably back and forth, I'm a horrible speller, and so I've even taught my computer not to be a good speller. It's because sometimes we train our computer, what it is that we want, and I think I've trained my computer to actually be an awful speller too. But what should somebody look for in a ghostwriter who needs one? You are probably the one they want to look for, but what is it they need to look for when they're out there shopping for an expert to help them write a book?
So the first thing you want to look for is me. Hi. The second thing that you want to look for is really making sure that you are prepared. Remember, this is your book. So the people that come to me and they're like, oh yeah, I have this idea and I'd love for you to write my book. And I'm like, that's fantastic. And like, what's the story? And they're like, well, I don't really know. So come prepared. Have at least what the topic is, what you want to touch on, what you want to teach, what the purpose is. I always tell people, know who you're speaking to, why you're telling the story, why it's so important, and what you want the outcome to be. Another piece of that is making sure that when you are interviewing ghostwriters, that you actually vibe with them, because you are going to spend a lot of time up front with interviews and all of those things, telling them your deepest, darkest secrets in most cases. Like, I only do transformational nonfiction, which means personal development, mindset, spirituality, all of these things. And they can be very, very, very personal. So make sure that you vibe with the person that you're going to hire. Also, have a budget. I cannot tell you how many people have come to me and they're like, okay, I've got like $1,500. I'd love for you to write my book. And I'm like, I would also love to write your book. And this is a full-time job where I am spending months and months and months of my time to tell your story, which I'm happy to do. And it does not cost $1,500. So just to be full disclosure, like, to hire a ghostwriter, in my experience and what I charge, starts at $35,000 for a manuscript. That does not mean that I'm going to go publish your book for you. That does not mean that I'm going to get it published by a traditional publisher. What that means is that I'm going to take your story and I am going to write the entire book. By the time I'm done, it is going to be ready to do whatever you wish with it. So I have people that I refer to for self-publishing help, marketing, PR, all of those things. I do not do that. I am the writer. I am the ghostwriter, and I do editing. I also do developmental editing, copy editing, all of those things. And I do rewrites for some people too. Another thing that you want to consider with a ghostwriter is making sure that you are allowing yourself the space to be integrous. So you are making a commitment to not only yourself, you're making a commitment to the ghostwriter, you're making a commitment to the audience that you're going to share this information with, that you are going to be authentic and vulnerable and truthful and present in the experience of sharing that story. It's also really important when you're looking for a ghostwriter that you're looking for somebody that has experience. So ask them that question, like, how many books have you done? How long have you been in this environment? If somebody says, like, I can ghostwrite your book, and you ask for their experience and they say, oh, I've been blogging for 15 years. Blogging is not book writing, period, end of story. They are not the same thing. They're two different skill sets, both amazing, not the same. I would say off the top of my head, like, those are the quick ones.
Okay, cool. And so I got to ask this question only because I'm sure somebody's like thinking it. But before I do that, make sure and write in the comments if you have a question. Don't assume I'm going to ask the question that you may have in your head if you're watching this. But make sure and ask the question, or at least tell me who you are and where you're watching from and that kind of stuff, so we can get some more comments in there. Usually we get a lot of comments, but sometimes when there's no comments, it means that you're doing a great job of talking and people are so busy.
They're just like, I don't want to listen.
Yeah. And so I got to ask this question. Are you really an author if you hire a ghostwriter? The person whose name at the bottom, our author, Andy Falco Jimenez, and I hired Sheree to write my book. Am I really an author?
100%, because here's the deal. It's not my story. I just happen to be the person who has the fingers that can create a story, right? And a mind that can create a story. It's your experience. It's your story. You gave me the vision. I don't make any of it up. It is all coming from my author's brains, experiences, knowledge, wisdom, period. Absolutely, you're an author.
Awesome. That's really good. So how is it that you, what do you think you have in you that you can be somebody else's voice? Is this something that anybody can do? What's that?
Magic. No, I don't know. For some reason, it's actually very strange, because when I first heard of Ghostwriter, I was like, what's that? So I didn't know what it was. And then I realized, oh my gosh, for some reason, somebody can tell me something and I can write it exactly how they meant to say it, even if they don't articulate it very well. So it just, for me, is a superpower, and I don't necessarily know how you teach that. I definitely don't think anybody can do it. And just like there are plenty of things that I'm like, I don't even change a tire, right? Like, but I can write a book. So yeah.
Right. So if I was trying to write a book for Mario, for instance, Mario and I go back to San Diego, all the events that we used to go to together there, I would have to dress like Mario, which I probably could not afford to dress like Mario. Like, I'd have to get dressed in a suit, like, or my business partner, Everett O'Keefe. There's no way that I could write for him. So that's why I'm looking at you and listening to you talk and thinking, I really don't think I could do that, like, write in somebody else's voice. So that's why I personally asked that question, because I would find that very, very difficult. Pat Zemer has a question. Pat Zemer wants to know, how is the fee paid?
Yeah, so it depends. If you're doing self-publication, then the way that I charge is in installments of 3. So you pay a fee up front, you pay a fee at first draft, and then you pay a fee at the final approval by the author, which is whatever the entire fee is that's agreed upon. So my rates are $35,000 to $90,000, depends on the book, the research, the author's involvement, all of those things. When it's with a traditional publisher, if you are graced with, traditional publisher, which is a completely different story, and you get an advance, that advance is what the traditional publisher pays the author pays the ghostwriter, and that's all written down in contract and all of those things.
All right. Very good. Mario asks, how long does your process take to a ghostwrite start to finish?
Well, Mario, let me tell you. So most books, it's going to take 9 to 12 months to write a manuscript. But for whatever reason, have you guys seen that meme or that GIF, whatever it's called, where it's Kermit the Frog, he sits down and he's like, if you haven't, it's hilarious. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that's me. So typically the process for me, like if I'm doing one-on-one mentorship with an author, it's 3 months. If I'm doing ghostwriting with an author, it's about 4.5 months. So it just kind of depends on the author's involvement too. I've worked with authors that really don't give me much to work with. And so it takes a lot longer because I'm doing a ton more research. I have an author right now that she's a dream, like so prepared, gave me all of the things, and her book will be done in probably 4 months.
Okay. I think Pat asked the same question. What is a typical time frame? And I think that's about the same. And then this person here, I'm sorry, I'm sure that I know you, but you are in a group. And so what you have to do is give StreamYard permission to show your face and your name. But hi, whoever you are, apparently they know both of us. It's kind of funny that we have some same people that we know together. And so anyway, so do you have any problems? So it's back to like the book producers group that I'm in. Do you, if they want to hire you, but they want to pretend, I'm just asking this question, do they want to, if they want to pretend that you're part of their organization, would you do something like that? Or do you just say, what are your thoughts on that? If they wanted to hire you as part of, so my business, myself and say Everett O'Keefe, we run the book publishers group, and we also have the mastermind group. If we needed a ghostwriter, would we hire you and then have you work through us, or do we have to actually say, we got this person named Sheree, work with her first, and then, you know what I'm trying to say? Do you have any problem working?
So you're saying that you would be the middle person between me and your clients. Typically, the way that I do it is it's a referral. 100% of my business, my entire career, knock on wood, has been a referral-based business. So you would say, hey, we have this person, here's her information, and I would deal with them.
All right, very cool. And yep, and that was Jim House, by the way. Jim House.
Oh, Jim, hi.
You don't know Jim too, do you?
Yeah.
I am so sorry. All right, so another question. Just kidding, Jim. All right, do you do it all over the phone, virtual, or is any in person? How many sessions in those 4 months?
For ghostwriting specifically, all my business is virtual, always has been. But with ghostwriting specifically, how many sessions in those 4 months? I typically do about 3 interviews up front, get all of the information, and then I'm passing along the content as it's created to the author for review, feedback, and I'm continuing to write through the process. So there's not any scheduled sessions per se until further down the road, and there might be another 1, 2 at the end, but that's it.
Do you work as an editor or just a ghostwriter? Like with my transcript for Walking with God and a Dog, I had written 90% of it, and then the editor I hired, she filled in some stuff. Do you do that kind of stuff too?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
I just had an author that I did the editing and rewrites for her, and she got bestseller in 48 hours in 4 categories. It was very exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
And what about the title and subtitle? Do you ever have any influence on that? Do you get through the book and say, you know what, your title is wonky? Because we get that a lot. I mean, that's one of the first things that we have to tackle as we're helping people write their books is their title and subtitle. They get married to a title, and we're looking at it and go, that has really nothing to do with your book. Or it's some weird phrase that only they understand, and you would only understand after you read the book, but that's not going to sell the book, right? They have some like the butterfly theory or something like that, but that's different, but they have something in there, but you would not know what that is. On a Google search, you would not find the book. And do you help people with that process also, I guess is my very lengthy question.
Yeah, so absolutely. So there's definitely people that, just like a book, right? Like they get attached to what's going to be in it. And sometimes people want to tell their entire story, and you're like, that's great. This is probably 3 books because you're going to confuse your reader and they're going to get lost. But when it comes to title and subtitle, absolutely. One of the things that I tell people when you are choosing a title, subtitle, if you're going to be married to something, be married to it being clear. So clarity over creativity if you're wavering at all, because you want people to look at it on the shelf and be like, oh my God, I have to have that. It's either going to be the visual or it's going to be the title and subtitle. And you want them to pick up your book.
Right. Can you, and again, I may or may not know the answer to this question, but if you have like a wonky like title, just say, I love to eat dirt, right? But then in the subtitle, then you explain why you call it. Is that something you would recommend or not?
Yeah, like if it was I love to eat dirt, it would be something like your subtitle would be like 3 reasons why eating dirt saved my life or something, right? Like there has to be a reason why they're like, I don't think I want to eat dirt, but maybe.
And the reason I ask, and it really sounds like a stupid question, I know, but we did have somebody talked about throwing dirt clods, and what it was about being a child, right? And it was the importance, and it was about fatherhood. It was about teaching children, how, and raising them to be good adults. The title had to do with something about throwing dirt clods and that kind of stuff, which was a story inside the book. But you see what I'm saying? Some people can be married to a title, but but once you read the book, oh, that makes total sense. Like, but you didn't have any idea why it was titled that way. But I think what we did is we made sure that it was handled in the subtitle so that it made sense to everybody. All right, now let's go on to just something else that you do. And so I noticed in all of your information you sent me, you have other things that you do. So let's go on to just talk a little bit about what you have as far as your coaching is concerned.
Yeah, so my mentorship is one-on-one, and that's where an author would come to me and either they don't have the funds to pay for a ghostwriter, or they really want to be the one to write their book, but they just don't know what to do. So I guide them through the process, and then I have my secret ninja system that is on the back end that they don't necessarily know what's going on, but I take them through the process of writing their book, and then I do editing and rewrites in the program. So by the end of our time together, they've got something that they can go and publish.
Okay. I put the link, if you guys have not seen, I put the link in the chat. So you should be seeing that on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Twitch, as we are broadcasting on 8 different platforms currently. So wherever you're at, you should be able to see that link. If you don't, send me a message and then I will try to direct you so you get it. You can also be found on Facebook if you just go to Sheree Trask and do all that kind of stuff too. But the link for your training program is in there. So earlier, before I introduced you, I talked about repurposing Facebook Lives and that kind of stuff. And I noticed you're using Kajabi also. I noticed that you are using a lot of different tools. What happens to be one of your favorite tools for entrepreneurs, people that are getting their message out as the next step? Because one of the things that people go, oh, I wrote my book. Now what do I do? do I speak? Do I create a Kajabi? What are some of the things that you use as tools for those people that have written a book and now want to know what to do?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be super transparent. Whatever platforms that I use, Kajabi, WordPress, whatever, I just hand those off to somebody else.
Okay.
That is not my jam. Like, I don't do tech. It's not happening. I don't want to learn it. It's fine. But I will say that one of the biggest gifts in having a book is you are able to get your message out even more so, yes, with the book, but to say, I have a book, people are like, oh, let me put you on my podcast. Let me put you on my stage. Let me have you speak to my mastermind. There's more opportunities for you to continue spreading the message by having that book as an authority piece in your business and your brand.
So what's a strategy? And again, you may not know the answer. I could be asking you questions that you don't know, but you probably do. What's the strategy that you would do? Say I wanted to, have people find out about me. Do they join groups on Facebook? Do they do Instagram? What do they do with this book that now says #1 bestseller and have all this kinds of stuff on there? How do they get that word out? What's the best way to do that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is knowing where your audience lives, right? So do they live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram? Are they people who are like, yeah, I have social media, but I don't have time for social media, and really they're reading your emails? So you have to find where your people live, and that's where you're going to spend your energy to get in front of them. Once you're in front of them, I firmly believe that it is up to you as the brand, the author, whatever that looks like, or your team, right? Like whatever you got to do, delegate, it doesn't really matter, but have what I call your hit list. That probably sounds terrible. I should probably rename that, but have your hit list of people that it would make sense for you to be in their platform, because what you're teaching would support that group. So like this group, we're talking to people who have either written books or they want to write books, or they're at least somewhat interested in doing so. Yeah, sure. I'm a fit for that, right? You wouldn't have me come on here if I was a professional ballerina to talk to this group. They'd be like, cool, Andy, yeah. Right? Like it doesn't make any sense. So you have to be diligent and doing your own due diligence to say like, who are my people? Where do they live? Who am I talking to? And building relationships. I cannot stress this enough. How many times I get messages in my DMs or I get notifications that are like, join my free group, join my whatever. Hey, you want to book a call? And I'm like, oh my God, no, I don't want any of those things. That's so tacky to me. build a relationship. Relationships are everything, and they will literally transform your business, your life, all of it.
Perfect answer. That's what I was looking for. I'm going to say one more thing, and I don't want to turn people off from writing their own book, but some people have this belief, and you may have a different take on this, so I'm looking forward to see what you have to say about it. But you may have this belief that you're going to make $1 million off your book, and that if I write my book, I'm going to be an author, and I'm going to make money off my book. The thing is, and what I try to tell people is that in general, you are probably not going to make that much money off your book. The key to making money with a book is where your book gets you in front of an audience, on television, on a stage, selling your book, to use it as a business card. People throw away business cards, but they don't throw away a book. I'm going to give you an example on my book, Dog Sniff Evidence, that's written about narcotics detection dogs and saving the evidence in court cases involving narcotics detection dogs. I use that book to speak in front of 800 to 1,000 attorneys in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace and that kind of stuff. And I give away the book. Yes, I give away the book. I don't make any money off the book, but I do make money off the book in the sense that they take that book to their office and they hire me for $400, $500 an hour. That's where the power of a book is. So I just want to make sure and throw that in, that if you write a book, it's fine to use it as just something you want to get, a legacy book or something like that, and you just want people to know your story. That is perfectly fine. You should do that. But if you really want to make money, it's what you do with that book after you've written it. So that was a statement, but I also want to know your take on that. How do you feel about that statement?
I love exactly what you said, because that is one of the biggest misconceptions I get from people. They're like, so I have this great idea. And I'm like, all right, I'm listening. And they're like, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be so famous. I'm like, that's so fun. I love that idea. Can you please tell me how it's done? Because that's actually not accurate. In my experience, no, you're 100% correct that your book is a tool. It is your business card. Whatever you're doing from that book is what is going to garner the money, if you will, right? The abundance and those opportunities. So yes, 100%, I agree with you. Awesome.
All right. Before we sign off, because I'm going to do my best. I try to now keep these to 30 minutes. I usually can go on for like an hour and a half, and I have way more questions for you. And what we'll do is we'll do another show if you still even want to talk to me after this show. But if we do another time, before I leave, is there something that I didn't ask you that you feel like you should tell people about yourself, or some process that people need to know about the importance of writing a book?
I would say, honestly, I would love to direct this to the people more than myself. Every single person has a story. Everybody does. And it's not a matter of, is my story good enough, or am I good enough? It's a matter of, am I willing to be courageous enough to tell the story in an effort to help other people? Because remember, this is not about you. Sure, you will likely go through your own process of transformation in the process of writing a book. But ultimately, your why, your reason for writing the book in the first place has nothing to do with you. So if you know that you want to write a book and you're terrified because you have all of this chatter in your mind telling you why you shouldn't, why you can't, all the things, take yourself out of the equation and think about the people that get to be helped because of your courage.
I love that. That's so important. And thank you for joining me. And I appreciate that on 9/11. This is a really important day. I'm glad we were able to have this talk. And there's somebody out there that maybe has a story that's important, that will take this world into a better place, so that we don't have a repeat of some of the horrible things that are happening now or happened back on 9/11 19 years ago. But Sheree, thank you very much for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, I got another show coming on later on today. I'll be interviewing a great gentleman. He is a survivor of 9/11. He was buried by both the buildings at separate times. You're going to want to hear this story, but it's going to be a great story. That's later on today, so don't miss that story. And again, Sheree, thank you very much. Stick around, Sheree, because I'll be talking to you right after the video ends. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Thanks for watching.